Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Public Service Committee meeting of Tuesday, March the 11th. The time is 5 p.m. First item on the agenda is approval of our minutes from our February the 11th meeting. Were there any updates or comments on those?
They seem to be okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from our February 11th.
Second.
Let's see, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The minutes from February 11th have been approved. Any public participation? Seeing none, we'll move on to our presentation here this evening, Energy Smart Program update. Mr. Histak, do you want to introduce?
Sure, I'll pinch hit a little bit. So tonight you're going to hear a little bit from a presentation from Sean. Adam, I don't know if you're going to say anything, but Adam's here also from AMP, and they'll present the update to the Efficiency Smart Program. You know, I think this committee is well aware of some of the things that we've been doing for quite some time here in Wadsworth in terms of Efficiency Smart. So this is always a good time to understand where the program has been, where it is currently, and where maybe the vision might be. These are the gentlemen to ask questions as to what they see happening in the area. And so I think it has already paid dividends, as you all know, for our community and those who take advantage of Efficiency Smart products and some of the things that we do as a community. So it's an exciting time to get some updates. It's really your committee meeting. It's your time to ask questions, so I hope you do that. So with that, Sean.
Thank you all for having me back. It's great to be here. My name again is Sean Clement. I am the Director of Efficiency Smart. Been with the program since its inaugural year in 2011, so happy to come up here and explain. I think my approach today, a couple things of note. We sort of plan this as a 2-year update at the end of the second year, which really our data is through in the presentation is through December 31st. So a little bit has happened since then, but it's mainly sort of looking at the first 2 years of a 3-year contract. So we have a remainder of 2025 to complete our contract work. We wanted to give you an update sort of midway through. Hopefully we'll be back in the latter half of the year to talk about what the next contract cycle might look like. But for now, it's really a midway progress update. And the other thing I'll mention is I'll try to step back and explain some of the context for what the impact and the benefits of what we do are. I don't want to assume levels of knowledge and expertise around the electricity industry, business, costs, and those sorts of things. If you have questions, please stop me and ask them. And if I'm going at too granular at elementary level, you can tell me to raise it up and we'll move up from there and adjust as we need to. I just want to make sure I don't leave something unexplained.
Thank you.
So let's get started. So a little bit of an introduction to the program for those of you who don't know quite as much about it. When we start, we really like to talk about what we hear from our municipal members who are in the program, have been in the program for a while, what they really like about it. And there are 4 recurring themes that we hear from them. One is, it is a great financial decision. It helps to reduce pressure on the electric financial budget because of its relatively low cost of saving energy. We'll talk about that more. It increases customer satisfaction. I think the customers who've interacted with it, both at a business and a residential level, really enjoy it. We pride ourselves in delivering that high level. We really understand that we are an extension of your utility. And as a public power utility, it's our job to really be neighborly and provide that highest level of customer service. And frankly, it's more enjoyable to do our jobs that way. So we really value that. We can also augment your customer engagement. Customers are more hungry for information these days from their utilities. Hopefully we can help to provide more information. We do work on Facebook and other social media and just other ways, newsletters, to get out and engage with the customers, not just in the human context, but also online and connecting them with information. We'll talk about all that as well. But finally, one of the key points, and it's hard to quantify the impact, but this program is a great economic development tool. It's here at your disposal. You can use it to help you attract new businesses to town, but perhaps more importantly, to help your existing businesses grow retain, for you to retain them in town because they can thrive here, right? If we can help them to lower their costs, they can be more satisfied with the service that comes from your utility. That is a really important value proposition that we bring to your utility, is to help those local businesses. We can help them compete with other plants that might be in other parts of the country or the world. We might just help them compete with their market, might help them to meet sustainability objectives from their own needs or from the corporate offices that they may answer to. So we're going to dive a little bit into each of those, but I wanted to provide an overview of that. I also want to provide a little bit of information about how we work, because an energy efficiency program is not intuitive to everyone, clearly. So the most simple way I can think to explain it is that we work with the end users of electricity, your customers, to help them to reduce their usage. We do that with information and financial incentives. We then they change their behavior, they change their technologies in their facilities, in their homes, and we quantify the change between before and after. And that's what we report to you as the savings that we deliver. So some of the sort of principles that we use to operate our program, and we always have, these really haven't changed, is that we always want to be an objective third party. We don't sell products. We don't sell lighting. We provide advice. We provide advice about vendors' proposals and those sorts of things. But we don't sell anything. We want to be objective, right? We want to help people understand what is the best possible information. And sometimes that includes, hey, this project may not be as good as it looks on paper, or that vendor might be selling you something that may not be your highest priority. And sometimes the best value we can do is to give good advice to not pursue a project. We're always going to be vendor neutral. Like I said, we don't work for the vendors, we work for the customers. Vendors are important partners of ours, but the customers are who we're here for. And again, we don't make recommendations or support recommendations that aren't cost effective. Somebody's just put in a new hot water heater in their home, we're not going to advise them to replace it because it just isn't cost effective to do so. So it's not energy savings at all costs. It has to be cost effective. We do tailor our programs. We'll get into that a little bit in the next couple slides. And again, marketing is really targeted around the target markets, the specific audiences, and what resonates with them. And of course, we have domestic customer support available via phone. They can go online and chat with us, or emails. And actually, we have a really well-trained customer support staff that we're really proud of. So a little bit about the residential programs. I won't walk you through the inventory of all the services we have. There's some sort of icons up on the slides that show you some of the names of the programs, but I'll just talk about what are the principles behind them. One is we really try to make our programs simple to use. We know that not everyone speaks the language of energy efficiency like we do, and so we need to make ourselves clear to everyone and make it easy to use, because it doesn't help if we make it difficult, right? And our jobs are really to help people understand, hey, what do I need to buy? What do I need to change? What do I need to do in order to make my home energy efficient and comfortable, right? And we can help be that guidance for them. We also like to offer programs, and these don't really show up in the savings, okay? This is part of that customer satisfaction. This is part of the service that we provide, but they're not in the savings deliverables. They are simply, we have some programs where it doesn't cost money for folks to participate in, and it's just informational. It helps provide them with guidance, like the electric bill advice program. If they call your customer support team and we find it's not a billing error, you can pass them along to our team and we'll help them to understand, gee, why is that usage high in a month? Maybe it was just a hot summer month. Maybe there's something going wrong in one of their systems we can help them to identify. So it's really about information on these programs. As far as how we work with businesses, Bob Golden is here with us today. He's your dedicated account manager. He works with the businesses in town. He develops relationships over time. That is a key to working with businesses successfully. It's building trust, because when they first meet us, it might be a little confusing. Might be, hey, how does this all work? So we start with a simple lighting project. build that trust, show them the payback of working with the program, show them how they can save energy and help their operations, and now they're ready to go. And the more we do that, the more we get invited back to the planning table where we can really make a large impact on their operations. We can help them validate vendor proposals. Like I said, we can help them to sort out which ideas are the best, what they might want to prioritize. And if a customer is interested but doesn't know where to start, we can help them. We have engineering consultants as well that work with Bob that come on site and help to identify recommendations. Again, some of these may be operational sequencing. We don't claim savings for it, but hey, if you run that air compressor, you won't need to run this one 24/7. You'll save a lot right there. And so again, we can help those businesses to reduce their costs. So pause there, and again, if there are any questions, I encourage you to pause me and ask.
Do you by chance know what your residential customers versus commercial customers, what's the ratio, what's the balance? I mean, do you have one residential customer and 15 commercial customers, or?
It's not quite that imbalanced, but you are on track to something that, we get a large volume of residential customers, especially through to the informational services and through the customer engagement we do. But the savings will always usually reflect your load. So if your load is 80% commercial and industrial, and a lot of larger communities will be, then most of the savings we're going to get are going to mirror those. It is about a 75-25 relationship. The savings are lopsided to the business and community or even through municipal projects themselves. But we do get a lot of participation. We're actually going to touch on that a little bit in some of the later slides. It should be encouraging to how much residents engage with the program. But again, the savings are going to come from those commercial and industrial, but we really work to engage residents and make sure that the project is in service of them. And the other thing to note when we talk about financial benefit, I think, as you all well know, when you have to look at power supply bills and managing the cost of the utility, if we can keep the total cost low on the system, that benefits everyone on the system, whether they use the program or not. So yes, those who engage with the program benefit more, but it's important to keep in mind even those that don't benefit from having it. So that's sometimes not as intuitive, and it's important to call that out. So where we are in the Ralph, does that answer your question? Mm-hmm. Okay. Where we are in the contract, again, our current contract cycle for Efficiency Smart runs through the end of this year, December 31st, 2025. The data that's provided in these slides is through the end of last year, at the end of 2024. So at that point, we were 2/3 of the way through the contract. We were exceeding our megawatt hour goal, and we were behind in our kilowatt goal. So I want to talk about why two goals and what those mean for a second. Energy costs for you come in three main categories. And one is power supply costs, right? Buying the energy, the megawatt hours themselves. Those tend to make up about 2/3 of your cost profile, looking at it sort of generically. Most municipal utilities, about 2/3 of their costs come from buying the energy and then reselling it to your customers. The remaining costs come from capacity and transmission, which when lumped together are called demand. And those are measured in kilowatts, right? So the megawatt hour goal targets reductions in your energy costs. The kilowatt goal targets reductions in your capacity, transmission, AKA demand costs. So, we want to see that KW goal progress improve. It's not where we want it to be. We are working hard to correct that. However, it is good to know that in the financial return for the utility, that megawatt hour exceeding, sort of the progress, the benchmark, is actually driving an even bigger financial return into the utility.
How are you trying to achieve that higher goal with kilowatts? What are you doing to achieve that?
Yeah, it's really about, again, most of those savings, they're going to come from a couple different places. One of the great places to get kilowatt savings is in, say, even just on a residential front, is smart thermostats. And that's actually a nice overlapping benefit for for Wadsworth because you're in the community energy savings program that AMP offers, which actually allows you to manage demand peak even more. And so if we can get more smart thermostats out in your community, that can actually help that other program as well. But they provide a great KW savings within a residential environment. So does appliance recycling. So those are two technologies I would highlight in the residential space. But like we talked before, residential isn't the real workhorse of the savings profile. So it's really engaging with and working with industrial customers and commercial customers as well to find those technologies that are operating most during those peak windows. Really the way capacity and transmission costs are determined is what your system's peak is during PJMs for capacity and I assume First Energies for transmission. And so if we can help reduce those peaks and sort of take the tops off of them, we're helping you with costs. So what we do is look for technologies, businesses and operations that are operating during those windows of time.
Maybe I didn't ask that clearly enough. Where's the burden? Who is doing what? You know, those are programs you have, but who's marketing to the customers? Who's dealing with it? Who's making that contact to sell those programs? Is the burden with you or with the city?
Oh, it's with us, although partnership is always welcome and effective, let me say it that way, but we take the burden principally. So Bob is going to work to reach out, and contact businesses. Now, he'll work with, Mike and Matt and others to say, hey, where are the opportunities? Where are new businesses coming to town? What municipal projects might there be? Working on the fire station recently, for example. Those sorts of things. Your partnership helps us to identify where the opportunities are, where the businesses are that are looking for, if there are new businesses coming to town, right? We can help them build their facility or outfit their facility as efficiently as possible from day one. But ultimately, Bob is really our primary boots on the ground for agency in the commercial and industrial space. For the residential, since we don't have quite as many Bobs to send door to door, we do that mainly through marketing. We might even collaborate again to use bill messaging or bill inserts. We've got a big online presence. Actually, spoiler to one of the later slides is actually Wadsworth is one of our top visitors to our website, the users here. We love that. Really drives a lot of participation. There are lots of different ways that we try to access residential customers. Those are the two main fronts.
Bob, how much time are you able to commit to Wadsworth compared to other communities? So and visiting old business as well as new. I mean, because there's some that aren't signed up. Yeah, we'd like that.
Yeah, that's great. That was one of the things too I was going to bring up is that, first, Wadsworth is the largest community that I work with, and I'm here at least three out of 4 weeks in a month. I spend quite a bit of time up here. We also, some of the outreach we do is we've joined the Chamber of Commerce, so different events through the Chamber of Commerce, Medina County Economic Development Corporation. There's no one way to find a KW, so you just gotta keep trying. But we have several of your customers that we work with that are in the double digits of projects that they've done over the term, and we revisit those as well as looking for new businesses through economic development. But it's a multi-pronged approach. I think most successful has been some of the Made in Medina County tours, getting into businesses that maybe we haven't been as successful and getting an understanding of that. But it's we're looking at every avenue, but they repeat business and then outreach to growing and expanding businesses would probably be some of the largest contributors in KW.
Well, thank you. What I was trying to get to is our cost versus our return and how are we improving that. That's what I'm looking for.
And Bob makes a great point in bringing up repeat customers. As we work more and more with customers and that trust gets built, they become more and more familiar with our second line, which is our engineering consultants. And they build relationships with facilities managers and those sorts of things, and COOs and whoever the right person at the company may be, right? And so some of the times you know, Bob is able, the relationship actually exists with the engineer rather, and Bob, now he can move on and start, you know,
Okay.
trying to build newer relationships as well. So it's not all completely on his shoulders. There is some, you know, we do have a sort of waterfall effect onto a second level.
Thank you.
Thanks
Sean,
for
if I can
clarifying.
jump in there, Mr. Parrish, just something that you, goes to your question and you might like to know. One of the things that I do in my checklist of meeting with new businesses or economic development interests is make sure that they understand this program exists first and foremost. And you'd be surprised how many times when they're looking for a manufacturing site or looking for a business site, they never hear from the community in which they're looking to launch about these opportunities. So we believe that that's the partnership responsibility of the city in this process, to make sure new businesses, new opportunities understand that a program even exists. And you'd be surprised how many times that they don't. What's really great to see in that relationship build is as their project moves through the engineering phasing, the different site phasings that they do, the facilities folks on their end actually are talking to the folks in Efficiency Smart. And you
Right.
can tell what's happening because those translate sometimes to changes in some of the plan reviews that we're doing. So we make that an effort. I personally make that an important part of my welcoming discussions with business that come to Wadsworth to look at it. I think you equally touched upon an area that I hope that we can improve upon, and that's established business and making sure that
Yes.
those businesses, while they may not have been interested at the time that they began their facility and their operations, they now need to know, based upon the savings that they already see as a part of our community, that there is even more out there to capture. And that's where we can probably do a better job as a partner with Efficiency Smart, that making sure when we have those business visits, when we have those economic development opportunities, that we're talking about this program and all of the programs that Public Power has an opportunity to provide to them, as well as the many other things we do as a community. I think it's an important caveat to what we do. It's an important message to continue getting out there. And we're working hard, but we believe the partnership works well and it has been beneficial for our community.
What percent of our existing businesses, not, you know, not future business, but what percent, I don't even know if you know this or not, existing businesses here in Wadsworth are using you?
And that's tough to quantify. You know, I haven't gone to that level of detail, but if I look at the top users from a commercial and an industrial perspective for Wadsworth from the annual consumption reports, we're, you know, including the city and the schools, I mean, we're in the majority of the top 20 large users for the city. But as far as all your users, I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay.
But we could figure it out.
Okay, thank you.
And if you need help with introductions, your Chamber of Commerce is a great place for
I picked up a
introductions.
name earlier today.
The rest of his last, because that's my wife. That's my wife. That's my wife.
We'll be doing a Zoom into business here before you know it.
Connections are welcome. And like I said, it's, you know, we view that as our primary responsibility, but that partnership, you know, as Matt was describing, is very powerful, very helpful, very welcome. And if there are other ways we can be collaborating, something you'd like us to think about, we love to hear those ideas. That helps us to evolve the program over time.
You touched on the peak,
Uh-huh.
and that's always struck me as being one of the most important things for us to do is reduce our peak of the year, because that sets the transmission rates, that sets the capacity rates. The more we can reduce that peak, the better off we're going to be.
Right.
But I talk to my neighbors, they don't have a clue why they should reduce power on the day that we think we're going to reach our peak. So education's so important. So the more you can help us educating people into the need to reduce the peak will be a great help.
Honestly, if you all have emails or content that you'd like to send out to residential customers talking about education around usage, and you want us to help collaborate, we're here. Love to do that. I think we've had to, you know, it's been a learning process. We get better over time of how to inform people in a way they can they can understand and absorb, because it's not everybody's most interested topic, right? KWH and KW, and what's the difference?
Until they
I
get that
love talking
bill
about it,
every
but
month.
I'm not normal in that regard. So, but we've been working over time to find what resonates more with folks and how we can have that conversation more productively. So we would love to, if we can partner on that, we would love to. So we're always here on that regard as a resource if we can.
Sean, if I can jump in there. Mr.
Yeah.
Jonathan, first and foremost, it's always good to hear from our ex officio member on the committee. But Mr. Jonathan comes with a wealth of experience and knowledge in this area. And I think, Bruce, you hit the nail on the head. You know, when we talk about the power industry in general, it is difficult for folks, I'll just speak, in a boardroom to understand all of the different aspects of the industry. So an example of the approach that some citizens have is, why would I be interested in turning my lights off or not doing my wash or running the dishwasher during that time that the city told me to do that? Even though they are members and understand that, they don't have the background information as to why that's important for all of us who think that in that peak. So hear you loud and clear. I don't know that that silver bullet has been discovered on how we get the word out more to do that, but I think that's something we struggle with. And Sean, Adam, Bob, if there's new information out there, if there's a new technique to try to teach peak and what that means to all of us, to the public, we're all in to try to get that message out. But that's the crux of it. I mean, we probably, people sitting in this room, know folks who, I don't want that smart thermostat because I don't want the city telling me when to turn my thermostat down on that hottest day of the year. That's the type of public image we have when it comes to managing peak and managing controls. People feel intimidated or basically don't like to participate in that. If they knew the understanding of how that affects their bill and the overall charges that are on it, I think it'd be a different story. We haven't broken through to figure out how to get that message out. It's an excellent point, good question, probably something that we all have heard, kind of thing.
I'd love to.
We're 1 year into the new fire station. What has this program saved us at the new fire station? I mean, that's stuff that, people could understand out there, because they can see that fire station, this is what they saved.
Ralph, that's an excellent point, and we'll try to work on running some numbers and maybe using that in a bill insert or something to draw people to
Just to
push
show
towards
people,
the
this is
program.
this is how it works. This is what we saved,
Yep.
at the new fire station.
Yeah.
And further, we have our own cable network here, WCTV. They can make commercials. They can, I don't know how often but if you have things that are already made or brought up or ideas for commercials, I'm sure we could work with you in that way, as well as our marketing.
Plus the senior center.
Plus the senior, in having
Do a program up there.
doing a informational meetings at the senior centers. That was one of my first thoughts.
Yeah, and we have done those over the years, just to address that last point there. Because that is one of the great ways to get, engaged audiences talking to us, about, of course, it's still hard to tell a riveting story about KW Peak, I promise. And that's right. The silver bullet, you're not alone in having not discovered it. We haven't either. I'm not going to make false promises. But, there are, maybe polish a little bit that we've discovered over the years to help. And certainly collaborating and learning what you're hearing from your customers and audiences helps us to do our jobs better as well. So
I just seen a post this morning on Facebook that a lady here in town wanted to know if the city gave rebates on refrigerators. I don't know how long she'd lived here or anything like that there, but I thought, we've been doing this program for years.
That's right.
And there's still people asking that question.
Yep.
Yeah.
You are right in that it's not a perfect science, and we'll keep trying. And
Well, the same thing can go with, the existing businesses as well. So ways that they operated in, 20, 25 years ago, as they add or change equipment or whatever, whether it's compressors or HVAC or whatever like that, or as they look forward to doing that, just knowing ahead of time that, in the next budgetary year that you plan on doing this or that, get a hold of us because we might be able to guide you a different direction. I mean, existing businesses may not think about it because it might not be in front of them or presented again, but as they're continuing to revamp or remodel or update equipment, that may be another way to get back in there.
And one of the things we've done in particular to address some of, the need to close the shortfall on our KW progress in 2025 is we keep a database of anytime a business in town has reached out to us to look over a proposal, maybe they were kicking the tires on an idea 10 years ago. Well, maybe we never heard from them since then. So we can, Bob can pull up a list of folks who haven't been engaged but had at one point. And so we can, reinitiate the conversation, or at least attempt to there, and say, hey, have you been thinking about has anything changed, right? Maybe their financial environment.
Sean, if I could jump in, Mr. Tuckmeyer, that's it. With your manufacturing background, that's a really great and key observation, because I think that's probably an area where we're falling behind and maybe can do better in the kilowatt analysis. And that is, when a manufacturer came to us 15, 20 years ago and got into a space or a facility, we talked to them about lighting projects, we talked to them about different projects, but how have they changed their operations? How has technology changed their operations? How has their load and usage changed, where we should get back out to them and talk about, hey, you did those lights one back, but you know what the lights can do for you now. You know what this usage can be do. So the technology changes in these industries within our community. Their loads and demands change, quite honestly. In the end of the day, we probably need to be doing a better job of getting back in front of some of those who we visited and maybe kicked the tires, if you will, but didn't go with us. Or maybe they did do a program with us and now it's been quite a while, where we could probably offer them or show them what potential savings are still there in their operations.
Well, and even more recently here, I think by the end of 2025, all the refrigerant in HVAC or in air conditioning units is going to change to a different. So there's going to be either rebates or things on the new ones, or even on the old ones, or things like that. So any company that's looking to major, because again, as you mentioned, all of the machine tools all have air conditioning units on them to keep them cool. So if they're going to upgrade, they're going to need to know that refrigerant is changing, because again, that's more of a recent change, that somebody from 20 years ago, there may be some R22 still in their building, those kind of things. So those are the things that, that they can look at as well. So, okay.
And refrigeration is actually an excellent technology for kilowatt savings, coincidentally.
We do reach out to contractors as well, beyond the businesses and the chambers. We work with lighting contractors, HVAC contractors, and we absolutely, we try to get in with companies when they're planning their CapEx for next year. I mean, we're really working to be strategic and with the partners and the businesses and add value.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
And I want to be mindful of time, so if you need to hurry me along, feel free. Otherwise, I'm happy to keep talking about what matters to you. So
This hand signal means something.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And they
You might need
asked
to
us to
go
ask
broader
questions. What the
circles.
heck?
No,
You told us that we could ask.
I'm here at your disposal. I don't want to overstay mine.
It's our time.
So in any case, to move forward, where we forecast at the end of December, what we were looking forward to in 2025 to reach the end is we do see ourselves very much, again, exceeding that megawatt hour goal, and we are yet short on the KW goal of where we want to be, although these numbers have gone up not trivially since we ran them, So we are making progress. We also, if you'll remember, I was here in 2022, and we had a more difficult conversation back then in terms of progress coming off the heels of some challenging market conditions. Well, this is a lot better, and we made immense progress in year 3 of that contract, and we're positioned to do so again. So this is a conservative forecasting methodology. I'd rather underpromise now and have good news to come back and talk later in the year. But I do want to be transparent with you, but I also want to talk about what this means. So these numbers of goal attainment translate to if we achieve that and nothing more, you would have 155% return on your investment as a utility against your own expenses. So for every dollar you put into the program, you get $2.55 in return is how that translates. It also means your customers will save, now at least $4.5 million in lifetime savings. So this is what helps keep people in town, helps keep people happy, helps make you popular. All right. I want to look at why this works. Why does energy efficiency make sense? Why does efficiency smart make sense from a financial perspective? So remember, we talked about energy cost and demand cost as the two main components. So the megawatt hour side is the energy side. The orange line on that graph is what we see from AMP's power supply division, tells us about what they're seeing in the market. These are average prices where you can buy megawatt hours out on the market. If you were out on the market in 2023 shopping, you would have seen prices in the $43 to $45 range per megawatt hour. By 2027, that number will get close to $60 a megawatt hour. So that number keeps climbing. Efficiency Smart on the green line, on the other hand, has traditionally averaged below $20 a megawatt hour. That's how much our savings cost to deliver to you. So this is a different way of talking about your return on investment. This is how much, why do we do this and not just go buy these megawatt hours? Not only does it make customers more satisfied, more engaged, and again, that priceless economic development benefit, but it does this for your financials. It is the cheapest source of power. To Bruce's earlier question about demand, this is the demand curve facing us as utilities. This is, we cannot negotiate these prices very easily. We have very limited means as utilities. So again, efficiency smart line in the green, relatively low, stable. The orange line is what will happen to capacity plus transmission. These are both of those numbers added together. If you're wondering why the curve gets so steep, honestly, in the past 10 years, we haven't talked as much about capacity. We've been talking about transmission and how much it's gone up. That's actually changing. Transmission is the less obvious accelerator at this point. Capacity prices are jumping up significantly. So that capacity, as you see, that going from 2024 to 2026, capacity is going from almost, it's doubling, right? It goes from about $8 a kilowatt month to $16. And so when you blend all of that together, so in a blended rate, combined per megawatt hour, the combined cost of power was at about 60 in 2023. It will end closer to 100 in 2027. So this is the impact of both the rising energy costs and the rising capacity costs, less so the transmission, although they're still climbing. So this is why I want to be transparent about, this is why this, when I start with that first bullet around, this makes financial sense, this is why. Does other great things too, but this is at the core of it. All right, so back to that economic development benefit. Just wanted to share some information about our work so far with the businesses in town. Again, there's a certain amount of information we don't disclose because it's confidential at this level, but we did get a quote from Acro Mills about the pleasure in working with Bob and the team and the program. You'll notice about 2/3 of the way down the quote, it says, Efficiency Smart kept the whole process simple and made energy savings fun. I feel like I need to put a disclaimer there. We can't promise to make energy savings fun for everyone. I'm glad to hear it here. We do try to make it simple. We do help people prove the ROI of what they're looking at. We do provide metering information to help people measure consumption before and after so they can trust the savings is real. Those things we do. The fun is a bonus. In terms of residents, Ralph, you asked a little earlier, I think, about participation. These are some great numbers that we see. 246 rebates through December on products through our online store, home energy rebates, and a staggering 176 appliances recycled. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. We love hearing these feedback on our customer surveys. We have some really excellent customer survey data that we're getting from customers, and I'll be sure to share that if I'm welcome back here and later in the year to talk about, but we're really proud of that work that we do. And so the customer engagement, and this is really on the residential side in particular, has been phenomenal. We had an in-person appliance recycling event here. We had 120 units recycled in that single day. And that's like a year's worth in a normal program run. So that was a phenomenal day. And it was also a great way to show our presence and for other people to learn about the program, to create some word of mouth. That's another way to create marketing buzz in the community. Again, I said we have a lot of traffic on our website and a lot of newsletter subscribers. We are trying to constantly work in tips and resources into our website and newsletters. Say, hey, summer months are coming. And how can you save energy and be more comfortable in the summer? We'll give tips along those lines. You'll be seeing those coming soon, for example. We also love doing contests through social media that people can participate in. We've seen some really great results and some really great engagement in Wadsworth in particular. So, what's on the horizon, what our 2025 has in store is really, down to the bottom line of get the work done to deliver on the megawatt hours and the kilowatt goal, the kilowatt in particular, to close that as much as we possibly can. We're confident we're delivering on a positive financial return for the city, but we want to close that gap as much as we possibly can in the kilowatt column. And we hope to exceed expectations in the megawatt hour one, knowing that doing so actually saves you a bigger amount of money. We do have contests and giveaways planned. We actually just had a really popular Valentine's Day contest that was held. We will continue to have our local, what we call local retail savings. It's our local lighting program through Bueller's. We're going to have bulbs, I think Bob and I were talking about being delivered in late March, probably April. So we'll see a restock of bulbs there that have been very popular.
Could you put a notice on the website that they're available at Bueller's again? Because I went last week to pick them up and there weren't any there.
They'll be definitely in two places at a minimum. One is on the Wadsworth Community landing page on our website, and two, if you're a newsletter subscriber, you'll probably get an email about it. And if you're not, I really encourage you to sign up. I got to sell it to all you as well, right? If you're residents, come on. And again, we're going to continue to run that really popular appliance recycling program. Like I said, that helps on the KW side, and also just it's a really popular program, so it's great. I think that brings me to our names and such. So,
I have a further question. So,
yes, please.
what type of training are we providing our employees that have contact with the customers so they can relay this information, have have good talking points and feel confident about it?
So I will say we definitely have and love to do customer service and support training. We have trainings developed for those folks to really help them to just connect your customers to our program. But I can honestly say I don't know how long it's been since we did that for Wadsworth.
Okay.
We would be happy to. We would love to. Please, I think we can coordinate that through Bob and let's see what we can set up, or unless it's been recent. But.
And then the second area is with our marketing, person. Also with that, like I said, we need to get the word out, and so
Yeah.
that training should be there too, if all possible.
Again,
We
we'd love.
work too with, in the community, Amy Anderson, whenever we are going to post
Yes.
something, we get it to her, she shares it on the community pages as well. And we have a pretty good channel to get the information out, but
Okay.
again, we're always working to make it better too.
Yeah, we actually put something about Efficiency Smart in our utility bills. We've done that
Yes.
12 times since the beginning of last year. So we do that on most months.
That's great.
Okay.
And we love connecting those dots. Those are always welcome. New ideas, new opportunities, please let us know. We like to find new ways to improve.
That question was as much for the administration as you, though, so
I'm
that's
happy
no
to let
problem.
them answer.
I have several of those questions.
We can certainly maybe schedule a training for some of our folks, our CSR folks. We can make that happen. I do not recall, as John indicated, when the last time we have done that, so.
And we've got a lot of new employees. that
We
probably
do,
doesn't even know about the program.
yeah, it'd be worthwhile to get something on the schedule. It's a good idea.
I mean, the bottom line of the training is here, call this number, visit this website. Like, there is a lot of great information, but the more we can have immediately in front of the customer, the better it is,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And, the next appliance, possibly, Matt, if we could do, other than just something printed on, if we could put a flyer in the utility bill. Somebody will see a flyer. I mean, they might not, maybe read the bill. I don't know if that's possible or whatever to put that in, but, you know, the next time there's, you know, they're through July and September, when you mentioned the appliance, maybe call it to their attention again with a flyer. I know the Bud and Bloom came today, so obviously you notice something like that, it's very visible, and people look at it. They'll look at it before they either throw it away or do something like that. They'll read it, so.
It's the key that it lands on top of the circular file.
Right,
That's
yeah.
the type of, where it all depends on where in the envelope it goes, Mr. Stugmeyer. No, in all honesty, Mike and I work hard, really, Mike, very much so in terms of our billing messaging as well as our inserts, so we can certainly make that happen.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
For your
Yeah,
time.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the invite. Thanks for arranging for such nice weather. for
Oh,
us.
yeah, no problem, you're welcome.
Oh, it's changed when you walk
Extra
back.
mile.
It's probably dropped about 20 degrees, I bet you. The cold front was in Cleveland.
I might feel a little refreshed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is under water project updates. Mr.
Right. I'll do that. I'll try to go through fairly quickly, given the time. We have a project that's, construction's completed on a water treatment plant project called Phase 1. That work was just finalized here this last month. That's really the only one to report in construction. There's 3 coming up for bidding. Tolbert is one that's supposed to be opening at the end of March. The Bird Street PRV, pressure reducing valve, is going to follow that, and then the airport looping project will follow that shortly after. So those 3 are coming up for bid in the next month or so. For projects that are kind of in design, just as a brief update, there's for the water treatment plant, there's a high rate demonstration study trying to increase the perceived capacity of our treatment plant, and that design's going on right now. There was just a submittal given to EPA this week, so that's active. We have a new project replacing water mains on Good Street, Good Avenue and High Street. That consultant has just given us our final cost proposal. Those contracts are being finalized right now. And then there's a bulk water fill station project that we do have the consultant on board to do that, to comply with an EPA requirement to
Is that
have
the one we
this.
talked about last year up at the water treatment plant?
Yeah, wastewater treatment plant.
Okay.
So it's a water fill station at the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, at the wastewater. Oh, we're not putting it up here at the water treatment plant.
No, because of the nature of semis and tankers, it's really not
okay.
space conducive to the space up at the water treatment
Yeah.
plant. So we found a location near the wastewater treatment plant. It's not in the wastewater treatment plant. That'd be a tough sell. But it's right outside of the gates there. So we're working on that design of that particular item. It was also within the budget to construct it this year.
Yeah,
too.
so that's due to be constructed in the summer, so it's a pretty fast design process. And then a couple projects that are kind of in the works. The downtown infrastructure project, we have gone through a request for proposal process. We have 2 finalists out of 5 who submitted, and those, we're doing interviews with them on Friday. So we'll have a consultant selected to do that, our large downtown infrastructure project, which involves both this committee and Ways. So that's coming up. We have a tower rehabilitation, bird tower, that is something that consultants are still being selected for that. That's supposed to also be this year. And then last project for water is an EPA lead service verification. There's a EPA mandate by 2027 to have verified all the lead service lines. So we're preparing a package to submit for contractors, likely somewhere in April, probably April, May, for the contractors to go and essentially just excavate the service lines where they're unknown to determine which ones are lead, and that's a mandate from the EPA. So that's a brief summary of our water projects.
Any other questions for Mr. Davis? All right, we'll move on to
The legislation request for the water meter improvement,
Yep, that's me.
this one?
yeah, right.
Yeah. So right now, the automated meter infrastructure that we have is outdated. Specifically, two issues. One is the software that processes the read information hasn't been updated because the company no longer supports it, and it's running on Windows servers 2003. So there's security issues there. We've kept it secure, but it gets harder and harder to patch as time goes by. The second issue, the customer-facing issue, is that part of the system, you've got the meter that tabulates usage, and it sends it to what we call an endpoint or an encoder. And this is basically what's transmitting it over radio frequencies to the software system. So that's where we're getting the usage data. A lot of our units, the batteries are going dead. For the last several years, we would buy whatever units we could find from the manufacturer. Then the manufacturer stopped having them. If we could get them from another community, we did that. But we're getting to the point when really that it's happening to such an extent that it doesn't make sense for us to do that. They're harder to come by, and we had unusually cold weather for a time this year, and that knocked a lot of the batteries out. Now, when that happens, we do an estimated read, and we've got quite a bit of historical data, so we can get reasonably accurate on that. But what we need to do is go out for an RFP and basically have a project that replaces the encoders, gives us new software, and then integrates all of that with like our existing accounting system. So the legislation request here, and this is a budgeted item. It was actually in the budget as the water meter replacement project, but I changed it to improvement project because there aren't going to be that many meters that need to be replaced. It's going to be the endpoints or the encoders that will need to be replaced. So the recommendation would be to read this in a perfect world, suspend and call at the first meeting in April. The RFP will go out tomorrow. We'll advertise for the next couple of weeks. We'll then have a mandatory meeting for bidders to come in, but ultimately the bids will be due and we'll begin evaluations on April 4th. So the sooner that we have legislation, the sooner that we can enter into an agreement.
Now, it's my understanding, too, that these units are all on the outside of the
That's
house,
right.
so you're not going to have to make appointments to get inside to do anything. So once you have the product in hand, it's just a matter of getting enough people out to the houses to do it.
Yeah, and we've got a lot built into the RFP about notifying customers and giving everybody the heads up. But if you're changing out a meter, and again, those will be rare. I mean, we change out meters now if something goes wrong. Yeah, we'd need to get into the house or the business to do that. But almost all of the encoders are outside, and it's relatively a short fix. It's usually something that an experienced installer can do in less than 15 minutes. So it would not be a situation where you'd have to, have customers set up a bunch of appointments, or you'd have to, get into the house and possibly inconvenience them.
So the wiring going from the meter to the outside will still work with the new one, so that way they don't have to
Well,
get into the house.
that's part of what
Right.
we're specifying is that,
It
you can propose any type of components or system that you want. It needs to work together, and it needs to work with our existing stuff. And we've probably already got a list of 5 or 6 companies that over the last couple of years have been interested in something like this and working with us. So we'll have, at least probably half a dozen to send out proactively, and then whoever else contacts us by seeing the advertisements.
And one question, your accounting system, is that the same one we had issues with the billing?
It's New World. So Tyler Technologies now. Tyler bought New World some time ago. They're not really updating that anymore. So it's the system that we use for utility billing. Now, I will say this, that part of the issue that we've had with changing is that is the system that the auditor's office prefers, and they do a lot of the accounting and payroll, and they don't want to make a change away from that system yet. So we're using that system, and other things are needing to kind of fit in with that.
do you foresee any changes in that accounting system? And if you do, is there going to be, are they going to mix? Are they going to be able to use this new metering process with a different accounting system?
Yep, so, typically it's the software piece for processing the reads. And it either has to, in our case, work with New World, or they have to do the custom programming and the APIs to make it work. If we were to change away from Tyler Technology stuff, say 3 years down the road, it would be the same thing. We typically just have them work with the APIs, and we might have to pay somebody to customize the connection to whoever we're moving to. But it's also, the technology behind it isn't, software is software, the hardware is the hardware. It's plug and play is probably not the exact term, but it's designed on a component basis to work with different systems. So you don't have to, nobody's really buying a brand new meter system with encoders and software. It's people that have been, had systems for 50 years that need to replace a piece of it, or, piecemeal change outs. And so the industry, by and large, has been pretty good at adapting. The issue that we have with the AMI stuff is that Itron, who makes our electric meters, are also the folks behind our water meter system. They made a decision a few years ago that they're basically going to just focus on electric meters because that's where their bulk of their customers are. So that's led to them basically saying, we're not going to make any more of these encoders, and we're not going to support the software anymore. So that's kind of where we're at, but there's plenty of other companies out there that do make the encoders and that do have software and that do integrate into existing systems. So, it'd be a nice change for us.
Thank you. I didn't want to make sure we got locked in because we may change the accounting system. Okay, thank you.
All right, then I guess we'll need a motion for that legislation.
I'll make a motion that the ordinance authorizing the interim director of public service to issue an RFP, seek bids, negotiate, and enter into an agreement for construction services to support the water meter improvement project and declaring an emergency, with the recommendation that we consider calling this at the first available possibility.
Okay. Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll see that next week then on our agenda. Next item on there, we had received some information on our water or whatever from a company called well, we didn't, but a couple of residents did on EWG, and I think you were just going to touch on what that really means in the real world for the people that had concerned.
Yeah, and I know that Jeannie and Ralph had brought it to our attention, and I know Matt has already responded after speaking with Dana. I had put together a summary, really more summarizing, the website and Dana's response that I thought, just in some bullet points. So that's what was attached to the agenda package. So there's not really new information in there, but I'll basically highlight this. Our water meets all of the safety standards. It's very safe. That website, and they're a company that sells water filters. What they do is they kind of handpick some different pieces parts, and then they compare it to 0 as a threshold, which isn't realistic. So they use what I would term as kind of scare tactics to say, you're over this thing. Well, this thing, you're comparing it to a level of 0 when, the EPA's level's 50 and we're 14. So there wasn't anything alarming about that. And, I'll echo that, kind of the sentiment that, as a city, and certainly Dana and his guys are very proactive about water quality issues. This is a group that's, plans out things just like the wastewater treatment plant of when this is going to need to be replaced, what's coming down the line. Let's get out in front of that. Let's make sure we've got the chemicals, all of those things to maintain safe water. But, the key or essential point is just saying our water is safe. No worries.
And make sure that you thank Dana. That explanation
Yeah.
he gave helped so much when I, talked to the resident and everything. I mean, that was excellent, just excellent.
I have passed along some of your earlier sentiments about those things, and Ms. Hines said the same thing. She was very, very helpful from explanation.
I was impressed by Dana's ability to keep ahead of things too, and look at problems that might happen in the future. I was very impressed by his ability to do that. I hope he hears this too.
All right. Next item under wastewater is wastewater project updates. Mr. Dave, can you take it?
I'll take that. Most of our wastewater projects are related to this SSO issue, this sanitary sewer overflow issue. And there's I think like a 15-year window. In fact, the EPA just authorized this plan to go through this very incremental process. And that involves, without getting too boring, but there's 10 areas that are emphasized. You hear the numbers, 10, SSO 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 10. So there's different areas that are not all of Wadsworth. About 30% of Wadsworth make up those 10 areas. And then also, there's really 3 components of each correction to make, just very briefly. One of them is a direct inflow, which is like a rain drain coming into the sewer. So there's something coming directly in where the stormwater is getting in from a pipe. There's something called lining, which is where the pipe is leaking just generically, and so they can put a liner through there to solve that slightly. And then when the leaks are too big, they have to do what are called point repairs. Point repairs are just little patches in pipes or manholes to where the lining doesn't quite work. So those 3 elements are pretty much what we'll see on all these different programs, on all these different areas as we go. And this EPA plan just kind of systematically goes through those steps for each of the areas. So that's just a bit of background. So right now we have a lining project that's just being completed in areas 2 and 3. That's going to be finishing up in April. And then SSO4 had a manhole weir to make sure, one of those kind of point repairs, to make sure that we could measure sewer as it's going in a manhole over to storm. So those projects, that one is completed already, so those are a couple of projects going on in construction. When it comes to project initiation, we have a large SSO project that's just now starting. We have been talking with a consultant about 5 of the 10 areas, 2, 3, 5, 7, and 10. So it's a big contract with the consultant to do a lot of analysis for these different elements. Ultimately ended up in construction projects over the next couple of years. So that's just now finalizing those contracts as we speak with them, making good progress on that. And the last project that's in initiation is there's the wastewater treatment plant has a lid that's been in a bit of an issue. And so there was analysis done. We just now got a recommendation from a consultant to do a certain variety of options for that. And then that is going to result in a design project and a construction project that's coming. So that's being in the works right now. And then the last one we have is which is this next item that's for legislation, is a wastewater master plan that is really focusing primarily on the treatment plant. And with some of the changes to some of the townships and the what's called the facility planning areas and things like that, kind of getting a new look on all the different ways the flows are going to be coming into the treatment plant. So that master planning process is here coming up right now. So that's the legislation in order to enter into that contract is what's before you here. So that's my summary on all that.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say master plan, are we looking at a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year?
So this master plan is, it's a generally speaking, master plans look at about 20 years of flows, needs, planning. The planning process should be completed in 2025. So it's a 1 year or so
You have to develop the plan, but the plan that
But then
we're
the
going to
plan,
develop
generally
will
speaking, goes
serve us.
20-ish years.
It's just not something that comes here next year in 2026 and goes on a shelf, and then we have to redo it in 5 years.
Yes,
We're going
yes.
out.
Definitely.
Thank
So, thank you.
And how quickly do you need this authorized?
This one is actually, we have already solicited bids that we've just received today, and so the sooner the better on the master plan.
End of April, middle, first meeting, second meeting, can it go 2 readings?
It can certainly go 2 readings.
'Cause
I think 2 readings is
We
appropriate.
always
do one
want as
in-
many readings as possible.
One in March and then call it, okay, do 2, okay.
Yeah, 2 readings.
Mr.
If we can get
Tessie,
it
do you
on
have
for
anything
next-
to add to this, or? Okay, all right. Any other questions? All right,
I'll make a motion to authorize an ordinance to authorize the Director of Public Service to negotiate and enter into an agreement for professional engineering services for the preparation of a wastewater master plan and declaring an emergency with a price not to exceed $450,000.
okay. With recommendation
2
for
readings.
2 readings, all right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I didn't get a second.
Second,
yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
second,
Okay.
second.
Jumping the gun. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, that will move forward for next meeting, next week. I see no report under storm water. Is that still current, correct?
Correct.
All right. Under electric, their first item up is, we're still waiting for information on taxation here for
Yeah,
the...
so I have requested 3 separate times an opinion from the Ohio Department of Taxation. Each time, they basically say, okay, well, we'll have somebody get back to you. That's not been the case. If I don't hear from them by the end of this week, I'm just going to ask the governor's office, because I don't know what else we can do. You know, I've looked under every rock to find something that I think should be extremely obvious information, but it's not. I know some communities don't charge sales tax. I think there are others that do, but nobody is basing that on, oh, this is the law.
Someone told us to.
Yes, yeah, some people aren't doing it just because they're not doing it. But our city auditor rightfully says, we need to figure this out first because, hey, I'm going to be responsible for collecting and remitting the sales tax. So we need to have guidance on this.
And the cities that aren't doing it, they're just going to come out of the coffers when they just get paid, when they have to pay it, so...
Yeah. Now, I will say, at our last meeting, Mr. Copley, you raised the question about whether or not, if it does turn out we need to collect sales tax, would we need to amend the rate legislation? And the law director's opinion was no, we would not need to do that.
All right. Next item is the legislation request for our annual tree trimming program.
Yep, so this year we're doing basically Section 2, which is south of Greenwich Road. For those of you that aren't aware, the electric department, we have a contract with the tree trimmer. They come in and they do half of the city one year, and then the next year they do the other half of the city. And this actually covers Section 2 and T2, but that just means the area south of Greenwich Road and the transmission lines south of Greenwich Road. So this is annual legislation, and would answer any questions or recommend adoption.
It's an ongoing program that we do every, I mean,
It is.
just a housekeeping thing.
I'll make a motion that the ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Service to advertise and to receive bids and enter into a contract for tree trimming and tree removal for electric line clearance and declaring an emergency not to exceed $140,000.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right,
And the recommendation to
Suspend and call that.
suspend and call.
Okay, make a note of that as well. All right. Next item up is the fiber project update.
Yep, thank
I know we
you.
passed some legislation here recently for, some more purchased items on that, and I know you have some pretty good numbers on some installations here.
Yeah, recent work that's been completed, basically splicing, which is kind of connecting the cables. That's been done on Lyman, Akron Hall, College, Pardee, and Boyer. Construction work completed recently. The aerial runs on Ridge from High to Wolf Creek, Fixler in the Highview area, West Baldwin, High, Lyman, Broad, Auble, Good, West, Knollwood, and Orchard. Over the next couple of weeks, splicing will be underway and should be completed on Ridge from High to Wolf Creek. And then they're doing the testing, which is, basically after everything's connected, testing to make sure it's working right. Some of that will need to still happen on Lyman, Akron, Hall, College, Party, Boyer, and Orchard. Good, High, Browse, and Beechwood. We'll see completion of fiber work along Ridge from High to Wolf Creek over the next couple of weeks, and underground work being done in Bluestone and Edenmore over the next couple of weeks. We've got roughly 2,200 homes ready for installation. We've got 545 homes that have been installed with fiber. 256 of those have also selected streaming TV. We've got an additional 600 drops completed. The drops are basically, think the line from the curb to the house is the drop. We've got about 450 homes that are awaiting scheduling, but we've had a lot of good progress. So in the last 2 weeks, we've completed 102 installations. 56 last week, 48 the week before, and we're going to be somewhere in that range this week. And I think we're going to be there going forward. The holdup was really getting a hold of people and getting things scheduled. We've basically taken the person that works as our CSR. We typically have somebody that works the late shift, which means they come in at 10 and they work till 7. And in the evening, they're not as busy. And we've tasked the person on call to make 50 calls during that shift in the hopes that, ideally we'll get at least 10 appointments out of that or 50 appointments. So they've been working on that for the last couple of weeks, and you're seeing it in the numbers. So let's see. We'll see installations over the next couple of weeks. First Street, east of Durling, Weatherstone, which is nearly complete, Wolf Street from west to High, Simcox and Tolbert from Stratford to High, Bixler and Franks to High Street, Euclid and Wolf Street from west to High Street, and Westgood and Knollwood from west to Orchard.
Very good.
Great. Then kind of along with that, when they're making phone calls, we had talked about doing evening, having evening installation available. And I know some of the guys and the people, they're working at night now as well for just cable installs and things like that after hours. Yep. Have we been able to cover any of those?
Yeah, so, we've got an installer that's available now until 7 p.m. Mm-hmm. Now, the reality of it is they're doing a lot of things. We've got 6,000 customers that, he's troubleshooting. He's, kind of the man on the ground for just regular services and keeping things up and running. But he has been available to do installations as well. It appears that, our scheduling challenges were largely in getting a hold of people and getting appointments set up. Now that we've dedicated a couple hours a day and basically specified, we want at least 250 calls made every week, that's taking care of a lot of the installations. I think, some of the issues that we'll face is that, we only have a total of 4 installers and we've got 6,000 current customers. So, we've tasked that the person that is on call in the evenings from 5 to 7 also be doing installation work then as needed. But we're probably looking at, if we wanted to dedicate more of an evening shift, it's probably going to we'd be looking at additional resources, either overtime for guys or, additional staffing, or potentially using the contractor for some of the installation work. That's a possibility that some of the work that was specified in the RFP, we basically said, here's the piece that you're going to do, but if we have availability, our guys, our communication guys and electric guys might be able to do some of the rec out, which is basically pulling the cables from the underground pipes. If that's the case, we would save some money that we would otherwise have planned to spend on the contractor. It's a possibility, that will have those savings, and we could devote some of the contractor's work to evening installations. What I've told our communication guys is that I want us to get further in the year and make sure that the savings have materialized instead of, reallocating planned savings and hope that they come in. So I would expect from here on out that we're going to be in the 45 to 50 installations per week range. And that's, with our installer teams, you get roughly about 2 hours for an installation. That's probably at our limit, which is what we knew. I mean, that was the expectation when we got into the project. So things have stepped up nicely over the last few weeks, and we've got a plan and a process in place that appears to be working, and we'll continue that going forward.
So with somebody working on a later shift right now, as they're making the calls, if somebody says, "Hey, I never see the city limits until 5:30 at night,"
That's
there is
correct.
an option for them. They
That's
could
correct.
just say, "Okay, well, we do have someone for you." So
Yeah.
we can cover some of those people the way we are right now.
We could.
Okay, that's good.
And
Okay.
that's what I was.
Yep, that's good. That's
Suggesting. It's just, trying to work.
Yeah,
Good.
and
All right.
I didn't know all of the details of that Kevin
shifts,
shared,
uh-huh.
but yes,
All right.
good.
Very good. All right. Next item up here, I know there's a legislation request, and this is a renewal agreement for the Aspen Smart, this is the project manager for the fiber to home.
Yeah, this is the construction management agreement. This was something that in the past, we've kind of looked at it, we're not sure if we're going to renew this. Do we need their help? Really over the last couple of months, they've been providing the service with, outside of a contract as we ran things through border control and kind of evaluated our operations. This would be a contract that would take us really from March through the end of this year, and then again, we'd reevaluate whether or not we needed their construction management, project management. So the request here would be renewal of this agreement. Again, they've continued on since December, largely providing the service, and knowing, they knew that, hey, we got a dollar amounts, we're doing things differently, it's going to go through council, we got to go through border control and all of that. So the recommendation would be to consider suspending and calling this. Again, this is a renewal of the services that we've had from them for the past year.
Okay. All right. Motion?
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the Director of Public Services to enter into a renewal agreement with Aspen Smart Networks for construction project management and services for the fiber to the home project and declaring an emergency, and not to exceed $162,000. Recommendation to call.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All right, vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll go ahead and move that forward for next week as well. Next item up under other, there is a warrant for a near map, just a dating thing on an invoice. If you
Yeah,
want to
so
explain
Near
that.
Map is basically kind of the mapping software that we use with our mapping system. If you've seen one of us bring something up, a very detailed map on our screens, it's one of the licenses for that. The total is $10,900, and the issue that we had here was this. This year, we're running everything through border control. We're running everything through council. And this was an item that we hadn't done that before. So the purchase order was put in, and then when we realized, hey, no, we're going to hold up on this until it goes through border control, we didn't approve the purchase order. We waited for it to go to border control, and the finance department, what they do after 10 days is they redate the purchase order. So we ended up having a purchase order that went in here that, got redated to over here. This is legislation that you'll see at the next council meeting. I just wanted to bring it up and explain that so you guys are aware of what happened.
The date just got out of order. between
That's
two
correct.
pieces of paper. All right, okay, appreciate that. Next item up, if you want to do anything, I know you always supply these with anything specific you want to talk about in the electric department,
No,
or
but
again with cities.
I'll answer any questions anybody has, but
Take a look at those. All right, and again, appreciate those updates too, because we can read them. And I also have to say that I very much appreciate Mr. Hiscock's late Sunday night soliloquies that he does for us on a monthly basis or whenever, because those are very helpful. I mean, sometimes you go through that and it's just, oh, that's right, that project was on there, and we do get an update on that. And I refer to those many times, or that's in my save box. And again, so those are very appreciative, and again, it does take a lot of time, and I do notice when you get those put together and send them out, so thank you, appreciate that.
I'm happy to do that, and they're really designed in an effort, a conscious effort, to make sure that you have information that you can use in constituent discussions or just for your own knowledge as the thing's wearing. And sometimes it triggers something that's not in those reports for you that, hey, I want to follow up on that, so I'm happy to do it. I apologize, I've been a little bit delinquent in getting those out quickly, but you can expect one this coming weekend. So
Good. We're good. No, we really do appreciate it, thank you. All right, anything other from the committee? Mr. Darlington, it's always good to see you.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good, thank you, yeah.
Good to find out what's going on.
All right, well, good.
You guys are doing a good job.
I appreciate it.
Our next meeting date will be Tuesday, April the 8th at 5:30 PM here in council chambers. So if I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are done, thank you.
Thank you.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.